Anunnaki Homeworld by Jason M. Breshears. Read by Kevin Stevens, also known as Grendel Dark. Archive 5. Orbital History of the Dark Satellite. According to the unanimous opinion of scholars, the circumference of the whole Earth, which seems to us immense, is no more than a tiny point in comparison with the vastness of the universe. Ammianus Marcellinus, Book 15, 4th century AD. The dark satellite is a lost moon of Niburu, serving the Creator as an orbiting prison containing those ancient creations that rebelled against him. Not all of them, for the core masses of the Anunnaki remain entrapped upon Niburu. But as Enochian records indicate, a select prison was made for those leaders among the Watchers that bound themselves by mutual compacts and curses when they descended in times before the flood to begin their oppression and deception of mankind. The infamous 7 kings of the Anunnaki are imprisoned with these denizens within this dark moon. Niburu entered the system in 1915 BC, and trailing the Anunnaki homeworld was its lost moon, which by consequence of its lagging distance, now initiates its own orbit around the Sun and nearly collided into Earth in 1899 BC. It will maintain an orbit mathematically related to the 792-year orbit of Niburu, being 395.4 years initially, but due to the near collision of 713 BC, the orbital velocity was altered to 395 years. This being virtually half of 792 years, 790. 1899 BC, 1996 AM. This year is the foundation to worldwide traditions and memories concerning the erection of an immense tower that reached into the heavens and was destroyed. After a few decades of construction, the tower in Shinar, called the Tower of Babel, was almost complete. This massive brick pyramid was built at the order of Nimrod, Amraphel Hammurabi, to commemorate the flood and stand in defiance of God. The tower was in fact a giant pyramid in Mesopotamia. As the project drew to a close, the dark satellite crossed the ecliptic in a near collision course with Earth. Earthquakes shook the world. The masonry was damaged to the extent that it could not support the upper weight, and internal collapse occurred, with thousands of people still working in and out of the structure, while at the same time a powerful thunderbolt, called a flux tube, a blast of lightning discharged between the dark satellite and Earth, vitrified a third of the falling masonry, while similar lightning blasts of immense energy vitrified entire areas from Asia Minor, the Middle East, northern Egypt, and India. Forts, cities, smaller towers, great walls, and whole areas by virtue of the thunderbolt are turned to glass. Geologic upheavals and global topographic changes transpire as coastlines change, rivers remove from their beds to carve out newer courses, and some settlements disappear beneath the unstable earth. Civilization is fragmented into migrating groups, some traveling as far as distant America before further global changes from glacial meltwater seas and quakes altered Earth again and prevented their return with impassable oceans. Sargon I of Akkad, Nimrod, was no more. His name by his people changed to Amraphel. He made us fall. The renowned and celebrated Hammurabi. Interestingly, olden Hebraic texts read that during the catastrophe, God sent angels among the people. These undoubtedly are the Anunnaki. Akkad was a world government in control of the entire world. Its collapse brought about the rise of multitudes of kingdoms and empires. 395.4 years orbiting the Sun. 1504 BC, 2391 AM. No records. Unseen from Earth. 395.4 years orbiting the Sun. 1109 BC, 2786 AM. No records. Unseen from Earth. 395.4 years orbiting the Sun. 713 BC, 3182 AM. The Assyrian king Sennacherib led his army towards Jerusalem to subdue King Hezekiah of Judah after dispatching a letter to him boasting that there were no gods that could deliver Judah from Assyria. As the army approached, the dark satellite nearly collided into Earth, and as in 1899 BC, an immensely powerful flux tube of electricity passed between the two celestial bodies, this time resulting with the complete vaporization of 185,000 Assyrian soldiers marching toward Jerusalem. This intense electromagnetic stress was further the cause of the entire planet's cessation of rotation and retrograde motion of 10 degrees, a phenomenon observed around the world as sundials' shadows moved in the reverse. As Earth hangs in space upon nothing, stabilized only by a magnetic field and locked into a gravitational orbit around the Sun, the dark satellite's mass and trajectory were enough to cause this temporary stop, reverse in the axial rotation by only 10 degrees, and then resumption of our planet's rotation. Never did the Earth stop orbiting the Sun. However, our planet was pushed out about 0.1% distance further away from the Sun, and the Earth's orbit became, in this year of 713 BC, more elliptical and was lengthened by 5.25 days from the original 365 days a year to 365.25. The 360-day year was the original span of the year according to the ancient Hebrews, Sanskrit, and Brahmanic writings, Hindu texts, the Sumerian and Euphratean records of Assyria, Egypt, and Persia, these adding the Gatha days, or 5 bad luck days, which, on the other side of the world, were known as the Neman Timi, the 5 useless days of archaic Mexico. Pliny wrote that the Athenians previously knew the year to be 360 days. An amazing confirmation of this calendrical change comes from the fact that the Roman records preserve that in the reign of King Numa Pompilius of Rome, this being his 3rd regnal year, he changed the calendar in Rome from 360 days to 365.25 days. The thunderbolt, flux tube, that electrocuted the Assyrian army and the near collision of the dark satellite is further confirmed in the annals of Lucius Piso, Book 1, which relates that King Numa of Rome called lightning down from heaven through an incantation. King Hezekiah of Judah also altered the calendar. As attested in the legends and lore of cultures around the world, the sun retraced its path in the heavens, or the moon did so if the phenomenon was viewed on the other side of the world. In the scriptures, we read that the princess of Babylon sent emissaries to Jerusalem to consult the temple records concerning the wonder which was done in the land. Some biblical translations read, "What happened to the earth." The same event was mentioned by Greek historians to Alexander the Great, claiming that it was one of the great wonders recorded in their scientific books. On the other side of Earth, the Native Americans of North America reported that the sun retarded its course by 80 hours, and in South America, they claimed that the moon once fell from the sky, and then later repositioned itself. Herodotus interviewed the Egyptian priests on this matter, who claimed that the sun had changed its usual position a few times in the remote past. They assured me that Egypt was quite unaffected by this. The harvest and the produce of the river were the same as usual, and there was no change in the incidence of disease or death. This was composed a few years prior to 440 BC. As we are now trespassing upon the domains of Emanuel Velikovsky, Zecharia Sitchin, and other more competent scholarly sources on traditional facts concerning this strange alteration of the year to 365.25 days, we now return to this author's core thesis. The flux tube phenomenon was in modern times known in theory only, but when, in 1994 AD, the comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 approached Jupiter, the powerful lightning blast between the two bodies on a collision course was seen and photographed. The lesser of these bodies, the comet, was fragmented and broke into 21 pieces that slammed into Jupiter's surface, producing spectacular explosions and the release of tremendous energy. It was a similar flux tube that melted the bodies of the 185,000 Assyrians in the metal armor with their metal weapons. An expansive terrestrial antenna. In the Apocalypse of Baruch, the text reads that, God speaking, "And at that time I burned their bodies within, but their raiment and arms I preserved outwardly." The people of Judah later visited the spot and found the entire host had been vaporized in their armor. King Sennacherib, camping apart from the main host, survived, and he and his entourage escaped back to Nineveh, where he was assassinated by his own sons, who themselves escaped into exile. As the evil angels were released to afflict mankind in 1899 BC to aid in the destruction of those building the Tower of Shinar, now, according to Hebraic writings, like the Apocalypse of Baruch, holy angels led by Ramiel were unleashed by God to slay the Assyrians. In fact, the Baruch text is narrated by the angels that performed the deed. The incredible synchronicity here lies with the fact that this happened at the conclusion of exactly 6 Mayan backtunes since the beginning of the Mayan long count calendar in 3113 BC. 6 backtunes of 144,000 days each, being precisely 864,000 days. 864, foundation of time number. Each Mayan backtune was 400 actual solar years of 360 days each, a fact the scholars are not unaware of. However, they dismiss this integral piece of information because the present length of the year is 365.25 days. The scholars are guilty of extreme arbitrariness, relegating the 13 backtunes, 1,872,000 days, of the long count on an entire system of 365.25 days to arrive at the ridiculous sum of 5,125 years for the longevity of the long count from 3113 BC, when the original system under the 360-day year equaled a perfect 5,200 years. This is how the scholars arrived at the impossible date of 2012 AD for the end of the Mayan calendar, a date not significant to the Maya at all. The long count calendar is perfectly preserved in chronolithic geometry in none other than Stonehenge, a temple site erected by Enoch to demonstrate the awareness of the 360-day year, and the fact that it would be broken twice in the future, at 713 BC and again at the end of the Mayan long count in 2046 AD, when Niburu nearly collides into Earth, pushing our world closer to the sun and altering the calendar once again. This is the 2,400th year of the long count, and from this 713 BC change in the year, an orbital distance from the sun, each backtune of 144,000 days now equals 395.4 solar years. The additional 5.25 days a year, abbreviating the backtune of 400 to 395.4. The Mayan long count system and Stonehenge will be reviewed in more detail later in this book. From this year forward remain 7 backtunes, or 1,008,000 days, which ends in 2046 AD. The dark satellite and Earth separate and the pattern continues. 395 years of orbital period around Sun, virtually mirroring a Mayan backtune of 144,000 days in post-713 BC system. 319 BC, 3576 AM. Dark satellite passes unseen from Earth, in sync with the conclusion of the 7th Mayan backtune, being 1,008,000 days into the system from 3113 BC, 395 years orbiting the Sun. 76 AD, 3970 AM. This is an amazing synchronization astronomically and calendrically. This completed the 8th Mayan backtune, which began in 3113 BC, 782 AM, of 144,000 days for a total of 1,152,000 days from its inception. The dark satellite passes over the ecliptic and is clearly seen from Earth as a great javelin, recorded by Titus. Pliny wrote that it was interpreted as an omen of doom. Intriguingly, this is the first year of the Saka calendar of India, 395 years orbiting the Sun. 472 AD, 4366 AM. The dark satellite is not seen in this year, as the orbital period is 395 years and the Mayan system is calculated at 144,000 days for each Bactune, which measures at 395.4 years. The two are out of sync now by a 2-year variance. 395 years orbiting the Sun. 867 AD, 4761 AM. No records. Dark satellite now 3 years variance from Mayan long count. 395 years orbiting the Sun. 1262 AD, 5256 AM. No records. Dark satellite now 4 years out of sync with Mayan long count. 395 years orbiting the Sun. 1657 AD, 5551 AM. No records. Dark satellite now 5 years out of sync with Mayan long count. 395 years orbiting the Sun. 2052 AD, 5946 AM. This is the 10th pass of the dark satellite by Earth from 1899 BC, when evil angels aided in dispersing mankind around the globe. And now, 6 years after the end of the Mayan long count in 2046 AD, when Niburu pushed Earth toward the Sun and again altered the calendar, the Anunnaki, evil angels, are released from their lunar prison upon mankind to gather the nations they anciently dispersed into the beast kingdom that will be ruled by Abaddon, the 8th Anunnaki king who fulfills the reign of the 7 kings from before the flood, whose reign were abruptly ended by the cataclysm. These kings are mentioned in the book of Revelation. This amazing year is devastating upon humanity and is the subject of this author's work entitled Descent of the 7 Kings, 2052 AD Return of the Fallen Ones. The year 2052 AD is encoded within the Stonehenge 2 blue stone, horseshoe, and ring, as well as within the Great Pyramid's timeline, see chronotexture, and within the recent mysterious crop circles, see chronicon. This date marks the return of the ancient ones venerated in occult and satanic literature, the archaic Maskim of Sumer, a race of demonic beings, of Thomas Burgoyne's dark satellite inhabitants, the haters of all mankind. Their physical descriptions are provided in vivid detail in Revelation 8 and conforms to Enoch's writings that declare that in this secret year, hell shall be opened and come forth destroying. The Islamic Quran even reads that the last days angels shall present hell to unbelievers, plain to view. This Islamic passage concerning the blowing of a trumpet, and corresponding to this, the Anunnaki invasion of the 7 trumpets, is in Revelation 8. Though this is a fascinating subject, our extant thesis concerns 2046 AD. The history of the dark satellite was provided because it is essential to understand how this lost moon in 713 BC altered the solar year, a fact that no chronologist known to this author has taken into consideration when factoring ancient dates and their relativity to modern times. The entire world has been duped into believing in the significance of 2012 AD, and for nothing.